Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to another sponsored Blade and Soul video. Now, unlike a lot of my previous sponsored Blade and Soul videos, where I'll talk about a feature and I'll state some of its pros and some of its cons, what I like, what I may not like, this is actually a video entirely about a feature that I'd like to see Blade and Soul explore more, and it's one that they took the effort of implementing in the Western version, but I definitely feel like it still needs some fine-tuning, and that is actually gamepad support. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people who have played Blade and Soul in the other regions to even think that we have gamepad support for the Western version, but gamepad support has become very popular in the West, mostly because of the increased interest in console gaming over the past couple of years. So, with that in mind, they went ahead and incorporated a gamepad mode into the game, which is very easy to access, and I'll switch back to my keyboard and mouse for that, since I know that I am not very well versed in these gamepad controls. You're able to turn it on simply by going to your game and going to gamepad mode. And just like key binding mode, you do have gamepad button mode where you can rebind a lot of the features or just try and figure out what these features even are for their buttons in the first place. Now, they give you an initial control scheme, and as you can see at the bottom, a lot of the buttons are replaced with things like right trigger, or A, as you can see here, or X. All of those things are now replaced. The main thing that I sort of have an issue with this gamepad mode is that the default commands are not very intuitive. They work, for example, like I said, right trigger being this, with left trigger being your what would be right click on the mouse. That seems to make perfect sense, because that's how I bound my Steam controller when I was playing PC-related games anyway. Where it seems to lose it for me, and it's probably just because I'm somebody who really shouldn't have learned how to hold a controller by holding an N64 controller as a kid, is that you need to hold right or left bumper as opposed to the triggers in order to access certain versions of your skills. For example, my top row of skills is actually the left bumper and A, B, X, or Y in this case, since I'm using an Xbox controller. To me, that feels very unnatural, especially after playing Final Fantasy XIV for quite some time. So one thing I figured that could definitely be doable is the ability to hold down the triggers in order to access these abilities and to rebind basic attacks onto the face buttons like A, X, Y, and B. I felt like this would more mimic something along the lines of maybe Devil May Cry, where a lot of your basic attacks aren't on the triggers, but those do have other functionalities for your other abilities. That being said, I did find that this was the other issues. Not only are the default controls not all the way there, but I find that the ability to rebind the keys is a little bit too limited. So let me give you an idea of what it was I wanted to change. I wanted to make what would be my left mouse button on the PC controls, I wanted to make that A, so I can just hold down A for auto attacks, pretty much. I wanted to make my right bumper, or my left trigger skill in this case, I wanted to make it X. I figured I could make the contextual skill slot 3, which I forget what it is. I believe that would be the equivalent of F, or hitting a proc along those lines. I wanted to make that Y, and then joint 1, I didn't really have a preference, but in all honesty, because I'm a Blade Master, I didn't know if I wanted to make this, what's it called, R3, or if I wanted to make this B. I think I'm going to leave it as R, and what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to make my block B on the face buttons. Now, at this point, I was like, okay, well, if we apply that and we go out into the game, it makes a little bit more sense. You know, I can hold down A for that. You know, if I ever get to the right click, I have the other skill. And then if I want to block, I just hold B. It feels pretty natural up to that point. It's when you start working in the other skills that things start to kind of not really make a whole lot of sense, at least to me. Now, I'm also noticing that it's giving me... Oh, that's right. So then I had... It's not letting me use that one ability. I'm surprised that it's not. But, what is it? F2 and left trigger? Oh, is it that? Okay, maybe not. See, this is what happens when you put me in front of a controller. It's like, okay, there we go. That's the one. And that's like left bumper and left trigger together, which is, I don't know, it just feels really, really strange to me. But it makes sense considering that all the other ones are accessed like that. I think my biggest issue is personally that I don't hold the controller like this. I hold the controller like this, and like I said, I think that that's the the N64 controller in me. It just doesn't feel super intuitive to me. So, but like I said, I wanted to rebind it so that it more mimicked my comfortable Final Fantasy XIV controls, in that I can make things such as, you know, right trigger A, right trigger B, or right trigger left on the D-pad, or something like that. And I felt like with that, I would have a lot more freedom. So let's go down here and see what I can do. Oh, or I can just open that. What I probably did was I probably switched a bunch of commands. I can't imagine that I did, but let's see. So we have available, we have, let's do left trigger, left. Doesn't work. You can't combine the trigger commands with any other command, and that goes with the face buttons as well. So I could try right trigger A, just replaces it with A. I think that if they fix that, it could actually be worked into a better gamepad mode altogether. And I am very happy that NCSoft is looking at gamepad mode because, like I said, a lot of other games on the market that are coming to PC are making sure that they have some sort of gamepad functionality. However, I did want to take this video to highlight that while it is in there, it is going to take some work for you to find something that's comfortable to you. If you want to give it a shot, if you want to try to see if you can figure it out, go right ahead. I'm using a Razer Sabertooth. I've also tried the Steam controller, which I don't believe I actually got working properly. I'd have to try it again. It's been quite some time since I tried it. But overall, I definitely want to see some improvements to the gamepad control. I am happy that it is there in the first place, though. Let me know what you think about gamepad control, and if you have any sort of tips to anyone else who may want to try the game in gamepad control, I highly recommend putting them in the comment section of the video below. I would appreciate it. I'm sure other people looking to try the game out but really want a gamepad mode that is really functional would really appreciate it as well. Anyway, thank you for watching. Another sponsored video, but remember, guys, these are always all my own thoughts, so I didn't say that in the last one, but I usually like to say it because it's so weird to me to say sponsored. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you all in the next video, and until then, take care.